All right, what a great time it is of the day, and what a great time it is of the year. And it's great to be in well, we're recording this. I don't know when you're going to listen to it, but we are in 2025, and it is hot here in Denver, Colorado. Today, we just had our usual afternoon thunderstorm, and I get the chance to talk to just some amazing guests. And today, I get to talk to Elona, and she's on the East Coast, which is kind of fun. I might have said this before if you've been part of my podcast, but the United States is kind of this amazing country that has like most of its population in one time zone. So on the continental United States, we have 4 time zones, and then there's Hawaii and Alaska that are outside that are in 2 different time zones. But we have Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. Those are our 4 main. I'm holding up 5. Our 4 main time zones. The Eastern time zone is where you'll find like Florida and Disney World and New York and Boston and what we call the East Coast of the United States. On our population, we have about 400 million people that live in the United States. And out of that, 65% of the United States population lives on the Eastern time zone. And then we have the Central time zone was only 15%. Pacific time zone, which is California and Disneyland and Seattle and Portland and the whole West Coast is another 15%. I happen to live in a time zone that hardly has anybody. We're only 5% of the U.S. population because we have states like Montana, nobody lives in Montana. Wyoming, nobody lives in Wyoming. New Mexico, hardly anybody lives in New Mexico. Colorado is in that time zone. But what's so fun is I get to talk to lots of guests and a lot of people that are living their lives in purpose. And one of the cool things, I would say it almost goes to that. 6 to 7 of the people that I end up doing podcasts with are all on the East Coast. I know that's trivia, and you'll be able to tell somebody that someday, but there just happens to be a lot of people. So when I go to the East Coast, especially in like New York, I feel like I'm claustrophobic because there's just so many people. But the people who are there, like, no, this is normal. This is what life is. But then I think of countries like, I don't know if you've ever been to India or some of the other, in China, where there's just even more people, more concentration of people. But what it makes for is it makes for us being able to serve folks better. And Elona, I don't know if you believe this or not, but I've come to believe that you cannot serve others or you cannot live in purpose unless you're serving others. And when I think about living in purpose, before the show, we talked about relationships and we talked about people that are in our lives. And she was so excited. I asked, what are you most excited about? And she said, I'm excited about the people that are in my life and the relationships I have, and my ability to serve and help and make sure people are getting what they need. And so because she lives on the East Coast, she even gets to do that even more. So thank you for being on today. Thank you for wanting and willingness to spend time with us and to just be part of the Journey to Freedom podcast. The Living Boldly with Purpose podcast. I don't know why I said Journey to Freedom this time, but it's so excited that we get to find out. And so, like with all of our guests, I get to ask them their story because I wholeheartedly believe that we really can develop relationships when we know somebody, not when we just know what they do. And then we go places and we talk to people and we always ask, well, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And we find out a little bit about their profession, but that doesn't tell the story about who they are. And so the part of the show that I love the most is this part where we get to learn about who Elona is and how she became the Elona that she is today. And then from there, we'll kind of chop it up and just talk about other really cool stuff, I'm sure. And so, Elona, the floor is yours. Again, thank you for being on. Thank you for your willingness to share you and who you are with us today.
Wow, Brian, thanks so much for having me. But yeah, you just already started off with a great bang, because I think the way that that conversation connected is living boldly is our journey to freedom, right? So I love how you kind of connected both of those worlds that you're also doing. So thank you so much for having me here. And I love those statistics. Geography is always like a fascinating subject for me. My dad used to always talk to me about learn geography, because one day the world will become so small, and and that's how we will connect with one another. And now here is the day. So I
Yeah.
appreciate those statistics that you shared as well. But yeah, we're very aligned because throughout my life experience, I've also, I guess, going back to originally where I am from, Albania, moving to New York over 30 years ago, and this now becoming my home,
Mhm.
where obviously the older I get, the more mature I get, the more I learn. I understand that it's really important to kind of go back to your pretty much your origin and your roots, and that really always attracts me. But what really I have learned is the most important is the fact that everything that happened to us is happening on purpose, right? All the challenges that we've had to overcome, kind of just some of the things that I've seen as mostly my parents, build a life from zero or experience, because I never really think we begin from zero. And the journey to entrepreneurship, which for me was after I climbed the corporate ladder and I achieved all the success on the outside, I pretty much got really shocked because I wasn't happy because I had achieved it with the kind of the feeding from my parents of what the American dream needed to be and that I needed to chase and achieve to be happy and to be fulfilled. All opportunities they were missing, obviously. I mean, now I have two kids, so I know that every parent is always trying, every generation is always trying to better to evolve their offspring, so to speak. So I now understand, looking back through my growth, that it was all there on purpose. But that was my moment of crisis, leading me into the work that I'm doing and the mission that I have to help others now align purpose and profits so they can do more good in the world through entrepreneurship. So, but yeah, that was my story. I climbed the corporate ladder, got all the way to the C-suite, an alpha female, an achiever, groomed, very programmed to be able to do all of that until I realized that, wait a minute, this is not no longer what I want. And the company happened to change directions. And I was living in a company that for the longest had a very healthy culture, meaning a purposeful culture, but it turned into a profit-driven culture, meaning that toxicity took place. Decisions were made from the wrong angles. I was exposed to all of it. So I said, okay, I guess this no longer fits. So I went out on my own into the journey of entrepreneurship. And I've been doing this for 5 years, I think 6 years now, when I founded my company, The Life School. And I've never looked back. And now I could see how all the dots connected and why even those challenges that to me seem very big at those certain moments of transition were there to really shape me and to kind of lead my direction or guide me towards my purpose and that alignment that I now feel, which is never a work that's complete. There's always work to do, but it's meaningful work. It's deep work that kind of just wakes you up every morning, happy, fulfilled, with a mission and purpose at heart. And I think that's what I've learned has helped me kind of overcome any challenges that come my way. So I don't know if I share too much, but that's what's coming out from my heart to share. So
no, I love it. And I want to ask you a few questions that go along with your story, because I think about identity, and identity is, the person that we are and how we, our identity changes based on a lot of times circumstances in our lives. And I know, you shared with me earlier that you came from Albania when you were 15. And I think about the vulnerability of a 15-year-old, girl who now is in this new country, in this new place that you now have to, I don't know if you're competing or you're just trying to fit in, or, I think I have 8 children and 3 of them are daughters. And I think about their times when they were at that age. And then you mentioned, well, you're this alpha female now. So I kind of want to know how that all fit in, like that transition from, hey, I had to figure this out. I was in the middle of New York, and now I became this corporate person, and my identity, there had to be some shifts in your identity and some thought processes and who you were becoming. Can you kind of share some of that with us as how you became who you are?
thanks for that. I love that question because for the longest, I connected my identity to my career, right? I don't know why this was such a strong prevailing thing for me, but I always thought that I know why. Obviously, I don't want to share a lot of details about some of the inner work, but just like simply, to me, that was always like where I derive my worth, pretty much. Like successful career, always make money, always knew how to make money. I was always somehow in leadership roles. So that was a big identity attachment for me, meaning like I was those positions. And that's how I led my conversations. Hey, I am, this or that status, right? But eventually, right, through growth and through even understanding how these are all, roles obviously society gives us. And at the end of the day, what I learned eventually is that it's not the role that I take in life, because obviously I have many different hats, right? My career is one area of my life, right? I am a mom, right? I'm a wife to my husband. I'm a sister to my brother and my sister and all of that. So, for the longest, I feel like those roles kind of made me really, I guess, not to be myself fully, because I had to somehow fit in within those molds that I thought a good wife should be, or a good career woman should be, or a good parent should be, all the shoulds that I've grew up with, or what I've learned or absorbed from my environment or parents and all of that. And now I could see how they put me in boxes. And I could never be like free and just to kind of explore my soul's calling and listen to my intuition, which was always very strong, even a little, but I just didn't have the awareness as to kind of what I was experiencing. So I think it was coming up for me as far as identity and roles. And obviously through my evolution of growth and spirituality and all of that, I learned that those are all man-made things those are masks, right? A mask that I need to put on because I should behave a certain way when I'm a mom, and I should behave a certain way when I'm a wife, and I should behave a certain way at work. So it was just, to me, I realized it's all masks that I was wearing, and they have fallen. And it's scary because I was exposed. I'm like, who am I? I don't know who I am, or what am I supposed to do here on earth? Like, these questions are kind of where I've kind of grown into spiritually as well, through my spiritual awakening over a year ago now too. So yeah, that's kind of how life has worked out for me. And that's what's comes up for me when you ask me the question of identity and how my experience with that has been.
Yeah, and I love that you chose the word mask. As you were saying, these masks that we put on, and sometimes, you use the expression where you said that they put me into these boxes. But sometimes I think for us, when we're trying to figure this out, right, and we want to fit in and we want to be part of the crowd, and we want to, they say, our group or our friends tell us that we have to do this in order to have this, right? These are certain things. If you really want this to happen for you, if you really want to be in the C-suite, you're going to have to do this, and this is how you're going to have to act as this mom, right? You're going to have to, we want to know that you're mom because there's a power in that, but we also want to know that you're here all the time. And you're like, okay, so how are you expecting me to do all these things, like you said, that come along with the boxes? And then sometimes I think we actually put ourselves in some of those boxes because we have such a strong belief in that this is the way it has to be instead of the way. Have you found through your whole process and enlightening and learning that, wow, all these have to be's really weren't have to be's, or some of them were?
I've had my grieving process over realization of all those have to be's, where I'm like, oh my God, I now can see how I've lived in vain, and I've lived for others, and I put myself last, that I've done all this without even being aware of that I was doing them. But that's what comes up for me. Yeah. When I realized, or every day I realize new things, and I go through a process of detachment and grief and all of that. It's not easy. It doesn't mean that you just realize it and you're like healed. Okay, now I can just move on, because there's a lot of triggers, right, in everyday life, personal, professional, that kind of just leads you towards the thing that needs attention, pretty much. So I've just, over my experience, I guess, through observing my own processes and my, how I operate and how I make sense of things in my life and how I make decisions. Yeah, I've learned to pay attention to that. I've learned to feel my feelings. Honestly, that's been the hardest exercise of my life. I'm like, oh, I can do, but feeling feelings, oh my gosh, and feeling them through all the way through, so they can just, again, honor them, even though obviously the hard ones, because everybody wants to feel happy and all the, the positive feelings. But that's kind of what has been the work, to kind of start to clean up my life, pretty much. Like, what is some of the emotions coming from where? It's like cleaning up your emotional life. I feel like, right? What's coming from where, and why am I doing something, and getting to the root cause, and then asking 5 whys or 20 whys. Sometimes just resting with the fact that I have no answer, and just letting the answer come to me and be more in the flow, where I would just be like, I need it now. I need to figure it out. I need to do, rather than just learn how to be becoming the person. It's on your thing. So that's kind of just connecting for me as I'm saying that, but just learning how to become, and just honoring myself for the moments where I didn't need to be anyone. I didn't need to do anything. I'm just perfect the way that I am, just to be. If this is kind of where what I'm feeling, to honor that, where most of my life I've just rejected feelings, shoved them down, and I'm like, I don't got time for you. I'm busy. I got to do a million things. I got to be everything to everybody. And I, of course, never had time for myself. So I've struggled with tons of the burnouts, the anxiety, the depression, well, close to depression, not fully. But yeah, these are the symptoms that happen when we live our lives according to those programs that we don't even know that are happening around us. So yeah.
And I really want to ask you, I mean, as we're kind of talking about, about expectations, and some cultures are stronger than others as far as this is what we expect from Elona. This is, whether they're trying, I think the intentions are usually well from family. But sometimes, because my mom did this, my grandma did this, we brought you here. Now, this is what we expect from you. And then when you stop meeting some of those expectations, or you go off the track a little bit, then there's this, like you said, anxiousness. There's this anxiety, not maybe because of, how you want to go or how you feel, but because the pressure that they put on you, and specifically people that are usually close to you, this is how you're supposed to be. Was that a part of your drive and your willingness to go and do all the things that you were doing as you were rising in the corporate ladder, and because it was expected, or is it because this is what Elona's purpose is and this is what I want to do? Kind of help me through that a little bit.
I'm smiling because I'm like, Brian, have you lived in my childhood? Oh my God. Well, yes, the expectation from my dad. I feel like this is a great conversation, very therapeutic. The expectation from my dad is, I brought you to this country and you got to finish college. My college education was never my choice. I had to finish it. He put this expectation on my brother and sister because that's what's expected. He made all the sacrifices. So we were going to do that. No choice. And of course, I needed to be very successful in my career, because what's the point of an education when you can translate it into money?
Yes,
or a career, a successful career. And then that leading me into the American dream. I also was supposed to be very happily married with 2.5 kids, a dog. I had all of that. I still have a lot of that in a home. So that's the expectation. So when you mentioned that, for me, that was it. So yes, that makes sense. You just helped me connect some dots right now, and just as we speak, right? And that's why I love conversations and the ways that we can become mirrors for each other, and just like these beautiful spaces that you have created here, and other people that are surrounding us. But yeah, and that is why I was so driven into the career, and I'm still a life student. I never stopped learning. I guess because it was drilled down so early and it influenced me really heavy, especially for my dad, because me and my dad have a lot of similarities in personality and character.
Mhm.
So I guess, I mean, I'm not going to go deep into soul contracts, but maybe
Yeah.
we contracts so that I can learn how to navigate life, and to kind of redefine what Elona wanted, what my soul wanted to go after, or what were my callings or my intuitive insights, and honor those and trust them. Because for the longest, I just thought like, I don't, what is that? I had no idea. Like, I was just, yeah, I was just blind, I guess. But you don't realize that you're blind when you're going through that.
No,
Um,
you don't. Yeah.
because that was my blind, that was my awareness level at that point, right? So I made decisions out of that. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, and yeah, that was a major influence in my life. My dad bringing us here, and I felt like responsible, and I was the oldest, and all of those responsibilities, I guess, as the first child that I put on myself very early. I skipped my teenagers. So I'm like now regretting everything. It's almost like rebelling against a lot of those things
Yeah.
that happened. But yeah, because of that expectation to, yeah, to fit that, to kind of go after that path.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes what I think is part of this expectation is that we start believing if we do these things, then it'll be enough. And enough never happens because those aren't really our things, right? There's somebody else's expectations that are put on us, and somehow that can't fulfill us because that's not our purpose, and that's not why we were put here. Somebody told me not too long ago that enough was should be, it's not an amount. Enough is a relationship of where you are right now. And if you can be satisfied and happy with where you're at right now, then enough is there. And then all those expectations aren't the sole driving force of the things you're doing. So I would love to know, because as you progress and now you've done all these things and you're still probably not feeling like it's enough, or you're feeling fulfilled. Like I did it. I got the house, I got the career, I got got the daughter, I got the husband, where, I should be happy. And I'm not saying that you weren't happy, because you can be very happy in all those things and still not be fulfilled. And so, what was this transition that, I know some things started happening at work that weren't, these were signs that this isn't my purpose. I don't want to go this direction. I don't want to be there. So maybe kind of walk through the transformation that you had, and some of the reasons why it was so, I guess, alluring and something you wanted to pursue.
I love that you said that, Brian, because that hit home for me when you said that. The reason why I could have sustained it, or I had a crisis somehow in my journey as I was following that. And to everybody else, it's like, well, that sounds great. Like, you're good. You made it. That's what it's all about. I realized that those were all the things that were missing my dad's life, which he projected onto
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that's why you're not feeling fulfilled. And it could be, again, based on other people's definition, the greatest that you can have. Because, in this society, that's kind of what is valued: success, right? Mostly material success, fame, visibility, right? Wealth, greed, all of these things that we now have seen a lot of the side effects or toxicity that comes from those, especially when they come from, fear, uncertainty, ego, and all of those things that happen. But to answer back your question, I think, yeah, I think those are all things that my dad sort of didn't have. So as a good parent, I'm probably doing it to mine. I try to stay aware as to kind of how a lot of the stuff shows up. But yeah, he just wanted me to have those things. So I think what shifted for me, I think that was your question, is gratitude. I started
Mhm.
meditating. I started returning home to me. And then I started this process very slowly because I didn't have practices in place. I started working out. That was my first move. I said, I have to figure out kind of how to listen to me, right? Because there's a lot of noise. I didn't know how else to begin. So I started with that, and then of course I started consuming online education because everything is like virtual, right? Podcasting was my method of madness into the world of exploration of what I wanted. I guess that's really what it was. I mean, now I have the words. Then I'm just like trying to follow, like, what is the thing I'm looking for? I don't know. But yeah, it came to me as that, so I started with that. Um, Podcasting was my main channel of education. I was working out, and then I started meditating and just developing generally a practice of gratitude and journaling. I realized that those were the things that I enjoy doing. And that's how I began the journey of, I guess, transition or transformation. It was slow. There was definitely a lot of uncertainty, a lot of moments where I'm like, well, again, the brain takes over. Am I wasting my time? What am I doing? This is not what a road I know. Like, I feel like, I have a saying in Albanian because a lot of like sayings come to me in Albanian because I do a lot of work with my community too. But also my childhood comes back, right? So I think this is like part of our journey. It's like you go into the sea and you don't know how to swim, but you're like in between the sea. I don't know, like this kind of saying, but that's how I felt. I'm like, what am I, like, lost, lost into the unknown until everything started to make sense. But I think my practices that, help me go figure out, meet myself in a way, and try to figure out, dot by dot or step by step, kind of what I wanted to do. What was those things that I began doing, which is the practice of meditation, gratitude, and then feeding my mind with like new role models, new information that explained a lot of why I was doing what I was doing. Helped me all with awareness. Honestly, education is just supposed to open up your awareness. And then that's all kind of what I thought, at that time I didn't know it. I'm like, I need to learn, because my dad's like, make sure you learn. He was also very intellectual as a man. So that's kind of how it showed up for me. But yeah, eventually feeding my mind, opening up my thinking, challenging my mindset, a lot of those things. Mind, body, soul. I know obviously those are the three things that are happening. But back then I began my journey of like into the unknown to try to explore, like, okay, what do I want, and what's going to be my next step that's going to make me happy based on what I had learned from my life experience. Because I do believe that, I'm not someone that destroys, I'm someone that builds, meaning all of those were great steps in my journey. That's why my book is called, my first one was called Connecting the Dots Backwards, because I do feel there's a lot of wisdom, even in that phase of my life where I thought that's what I needed to do. And that had to happen so that I can get here. Otherwise, I wouldn't know the difference. So that's kind of how I navigated the transitory period from, I guess, corporate executive to, if we're going to talk about career, to entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I want to kind of pursue these things and get a little bit deeper, but before, and I want to definitely jump into your connecting the dots backwards, because there's a whole lot of things that came into my mind. But one of the things that you said that there's a couple, you talked about health, which I want to talk about, but you also said that I meditated. I started meditating. And so many people come to me and they say, I don't know how to meditate. I just sit there and things come to my mind. And I don't get it. It's just, people tell me I got to meditate, but what is that? What does it mean? Like, maybe you can kind of, even in your journey, like when you first started, like, were you in that same situation, or like, what is it? And then how has it evolved into something that's helping you?
Oh, I love that question, because I still don't know how to meditate. Lately, I can't sit still. So this is not, again, a destination. I learned how to do it. Oh my God, I'm done. It began messy. It began just me I got a lot of help from guided meditations. I love those because they focus you. I still do that now when I feel out of balance or energy, but now I know what's happening. But yeah, I'm someone that can't sit still. Like, I have a lot of fire, a lot of energy. And I felt like for the longest, one of my recurring stories was like, this is a waste of time. I don't got time to sit here for 30 minutes. I could be doing something. productive, efficient, be a human robot. So yeah, I relate to everybody that talks about that. And there's no, what I've learned is not to push yourself. There's moments where I now move away from meditation. I just take a walk, right? Meditation could be anything that gets you back to focus on, your body or your thoughts or your soul, sort of kind of just be in silence with yourself so you can clean up the messes, the distractions, the noise around you. I mean, it's really everybody. Like, I mean, I don't know, we can call it, mindful practice. I think that might just cover everybody because everybody has a different way. Some people clean. I like to clean and do my dishes, and that's how I meditate nowadays, right? So I don't think, I don't think that, like, again, just like society, they would like to fit everything into boxes, right? Because we need to structure things. It makes sense for people with humans. But to me, I just like to open up that now and just share that, just do wherever your flow is leading you, wherever, if you're more of a feeler, feel it out, see what you feel like doing to connect to you, right? If you're a thinker, journal, right? If you are somebody like physical touch, quality time, right? Because we all have different ways to connect with ourselves and others. So the more you discover yourself, the more you know or feel aligned with the method that's really resonating with you at the time. And there's no such thing as do it forever. There's phases of life, ebbs and flows. I like to look at life like water. I'm a water sign. So to me, everything's like waves. It comes and goes. There's different timelines, there's different phases of life. So there's no such thing as like, I have to do it, forcing yourself, but just start slowly. I started with guided meditation. I still go back to that when I feel out of energy, or like my energy is all over the place and I can't ground myself. I'll go to guided. But that's how I began, because to me it was easier to follow someone else's voice, and I could just like focus through that experience rather than me sit there on my own. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I would just probably think about all my to-do lists. Like, I still do it. There's times I can't turn off my mind, and that's why people have such a problem with meditation. But through practice and persistence and patience, just like anything, you start to learn that you start to enjoy it. You start to seek for that because you want to create times that you spend time with yourself throughout your day or week, and you start to look forward to that. So I think it's just, yeah, everybody finds their own, take your baby steps. But I do like what I said. I think that was very good.
That was very, very good.
Without putting it into a box. Just
there we go.
Practice connecting with you. I don't care what that looks like for everybody. Everybody's on a different spot in their journey. Who are we to say, like, do it this way? Meditation is the channel. No, you can clean your dishes. You can walk. Like, I know many people that cope with or like connect with themselves through like cleaning, because it focuses you, cooking, drawing, journaling, like all these things that you already enjoy. Just pay attention to your attractions, things that really are attracting you. Those are the things that are inside of you, as far as talents, skills, gifts, all of whatever you might want to call it. And you can turn any of those into a meditation practice.
Yeah, I think, as I think through, like when we grew up, and during the times when it was like the East versus the West, right? And so if you were East, you could meditate, and you had to like and just hum or something like that. We're like, oh, that's bad, because in the West, we're all like in this hurry to get places and do stuff and be successful. And what I kind of found out for me, prayer is a big part of my meditation. But here's how for me, how I kind of judge if I was in some type of a meditational cycle is, if I can start somewhere, maybe it's my walk in the morning, and then end up back at home, but have no idea how I got home, or no idea how I got to that place, then I can say this was probably a really good. I know what happened in my thought process because I'm thinking through stuff, and so that I could go back and now journal and do stuff. But when I think about like, what route did I take, or what were the distractions in the way, or I could say I'm driving and I'm thinking, and I'm in this meditative state where I'm really focused on what it is that I'm trying to release or think in my mind, and then I go, wow, somehow I'm at my house and I can't tell you if there were stoplights, if there were stop signs, if there was my automatic system took over so that I could be in this state or this position to be able to do that. And so for me, that is, I guess if there's guided or focus, I sometimes listen to those binaural beats or something, when I'm focusing and I'm trying to just, hey, I need this so that I can get this task done and be focusing. But when I'm meditating, whatever's coming, and usually some incredible thoughts come out of it, but I know I was there because everything else wasn't. I guess it's kind of scary because if I'm in that state, I was thinking if I had little kids, at the time they could have been running around the house doing all kind of stuff, and I would never even know what they did. I'm fortunate now that my kids are grown and they can take care of themselves. But that to me, I don't know. It seems kind of silly that that's what it is, but you're right. It's so much of not having to put it in a box. This is the only way that you can meditate, or this is the only way that you can find those things that you're doing. You mentioned that you wrote a book, was connecting the dots backwards. And when I think of connecting the dots, the first thing you say is like, this is the path to success. You got to connect this to this and this to this. And it's a linear or a formula for an outcome. That's what connecting the dots. But then this interesting title of it, doing it backwards, would suggest to me that, wait a minute, it's not all about this linear progression of trying to make everything work by connecting this with this and this and this. Kind of talk to me about what it means to do it backwards.
Yeah, I like to piggyback on something. Obviously, we all can relate to the story of we're driving and we don't know how we got from point A to C. It can either be two things. We're in our head and we're dead. We're just like thinking about everything but nothing, right? Because at the end of the day, you don't remember how you process information. Yeah. Or you can so be in the zone that you're so enjoying whatever you're doing so that like time just flies. Like there's no time, right? Time is man-made too. I mean, science it's studying about that and telling us about that, right? So I think that's really important. What's coming up for me is creative channel, whatever that is for anybody, right? Creative channel. Again, it could be driving, it could be a creative channel. I like driving myself for that same reason, because I can get into my zone. And again, whether I'm trying to process information, that's also meditation, because I'm spending time by myself. So I think, let's kind of wrap up that conversation. But I think definitely what's coming up hopefully resonates with people listening is just find that creative channel that is calling you at the moment, and just take the next step towards it, and just try and improve it each time that you do it. And I think everybody eventually will find not one thing, because you can do many things at the same time, but that's the beauty of being human, right? We're always like, we have that ability to be able to do so. But of course, now I lost track of your question.
Well, thank you for going back, because we needed to connect that, which was super important.
Oh, connected dots. Yes. So, all right. So again, moments of insight is how I create everything. To me, it's all a creative channel. That's why I love business, because it's open forum. It's there's no limit. So connecting the dots backwards to me means, what it means to me back to kind of how I think about life is, that's why even the name of my company is called The Life School, because we all have life experience. And the past, if we are aware, or once we go through something in the past and we derive its lessons, then we get to apply that better version of that in the present moment. So that's how the present moment comes to play. And there's only a present moment. There's no such thing as the past already done. And now we got the future. So for visionaries, they love it. For me, I lived in the future for many years. That's why I had anxiety. So to me, that's kind of where I lived. I didn't know how to be in the present moment, right? And yes, I would get stuck in the past based on some patterns and things that were no longer serving me, but were holding me down. And it's very necessary to have a vision for the future, right? Because, once we have clarity on that, then we can take those next steps in the present moment, because that's all we got, right? To take the next intuitive step or connecting the next dot get us towards that future that we're trying to build, or that we feel called to build. So that's why I call my books Connecting the Dots, because I do feel like all three timelines are very important. And once we increase our levels of awareness and gain life experience, then we're able to do that for ourselves. But also, this is our purpose, all of us, to share this back with other people, right? To kind of share this, connect with others, and share what you have learned, share where you have lived through experience. And it started out, my vision for the life school is like, entrepreneurship is just a school of life. Life is always teaching you something, and there's no such thing as you graduating from the school of life. You're always a student, and maybe, I don't love the word teacher nowadays. It kind of doesn't resonate with me, but I could say like a guide or a facilitator for other people. And then you're always going back to learn. So it's just like a process of going back and forth and doing that. And that's kind of where fulfillment has come for me the most, just sharing what I know with others from a place of rawness, authenticity, from my truth. And I don't need to be anything. I don't need to say anything right. I just say whatever comes up and use my gifts that I've discovered in the evolution and into service, in the service of others. That's how we began this conversation. But yeah, allowing the three timelines to connect, and always use that time to sit through and understand how the past actually was necessary for you to make a decision in the present moment, and how whatever you're going to make a decision in the present moment is going to shape the future, but also is going to, if you pay attention, keep you in the journey towards your aligned future, the thing that you maybe are attracted to. So kind of staying focused, I guess, is what I'm saying, while giving yourself freedom and creativity and free choice and all of those things. So I know they're conflicting, but that's what alignment is. It's a messy process. One thing, it's a mess. It feels like you're going back and forth, but at the end of the day, it's kind of what makes you you, rather than the doing part, right? It's the alignment of feminine and masculine energy, which we probably have heard a lot about. And I feel like that's really the goal, I guess, if there is a goal. There's, to kind of just everybody kind of be in that mode where they can harmonize those journeys, or kind of use the timelines to stay within their soul's calling, I guess, without going too spiritual on your podcast.
Yeah, well, that's all right. And when you talk about like the soul's, where it needs to be or what it's trying to do, and I think about, when I just think about living in purpose and finding our purpose, how do we do that with all the distractions, with all the noise, with all the things that are we being pulled in all these different directions?
Yeah.
And yet there's a spot. Yeah.
Let's wrap up this combo with that. I love it. So that's what I've learned about seeking purpose, because that can become its own problem. It was for me because, with, I guess, my prior version of me was always thinking it was a goal. Like, I need to find my life's purpose. What I've learned is just, if you follow your intuition, if you follow your calling, if you follow your gut, if you have these practices we talked about, a creative outlet to meet yourself and take time with yourself in silence, just really follow what's the next step for you. What is the next dot that connects for you? That intuitive insight, just take action from that, and you don't have to figure out anything else. I've learned that it's very simple. Yes, you might be, somebody that has a gift in vision, right? Like I do. I happen to discover that I have that, meaning like I can see a few years down the line, or I could see the opening of kind of what's calling me that's not even present in the present moment. So just follow that. But those are all insights. That was an insight. I had an insight. I'm like, I see it. Now I get it, that it's aligned. And purpose is evolving with you. There's no such thing. It's always like reforming itself, just stay open to the process. But there's no such thing as like, this is it. This is my life's purpose. I figured it out. And now I can just like work on that every day. I think it's really connected to your calling, your gifts. The more you know, and the more you discover yourself, discover thyself, the more you can be in service towards others. I always say there's two homeworks, just like school, if you want to do it that way. first discover your gift, then use it as a purposeful service towards others. That's it. So first is that step, second is a second. And then eventually you'll integrate everything, right? You'll all come to integrate and come together in alignment, right? Because sometimes it seems like we have different things. Like I could see, like I love business, but I love psychology, but I love art, but I love politics, but I love social causes, right? So it could seem like it's so many things. But honestly, if you could try, that's what I help people do, structure all of that mess. Because sometimes it looks like a big mess, especially for a lot of the creatives. You are good at, you kind of get attracted to many things, but how do you structure it out into like one focus and one thing that you can work towards every day, and it can make sense to other people? Because if you're just all over the place, obviously nobody's going to understand how you can support them. So yeah, that's what I have to say about purpose nowadays.
I love it.
That's it. It's an evolution.
Maybe you can define this for me and just help me a little bit, because I hear the word and I think of it all the time, and you've used it a few times. It's the word gift. And when I think about gifts, I can learn to be good at a lot of things, but there's always so many things that I'm gifted at. And then how do I find out what that is? Because it's like, oh, I'm good at that. I can play the piano, and I think I'm pretty good at it, and I enjoy it a little bit. And and I've had teachers, and they teach me how to do it. And I can go sit down, and people will enjoy me playing. But am I a gifted? Then you see somebody who's gifted, and you go, whoa, right?
All right, we're gonna end with this because I definitely want to honor this conversation. But I think, okay, here's what I've learned about that. I love your question. I love it. I love this conversation. So what I've learned is that our gifts are all about remembering. We're already, if you have a calling or something is attracting you, it's sitting inside of you. And the reason why you know how to do it with practice, as you gain, we call it skills in our world, right? We gain skills, right? With practice and repetition, I think anybody can learn anything, honestly. And you can learn to love it too. Because once you put your energy into something, you're feeding it, obviously it will feed you back. I don't care if it's a skill, playing an instrument, anything that you do. As human beings, we nurture, right? We put in energy, we feed something, and it grows. So you can learn to improve it, but to me, it's deeper than that. It's remembering that you're actually already good at it. Yes. So just you discovering it and following, again, the same advice I have about purpose. That's kind of how you start to bring that to life, and you can call it whatever. As long as it's attractive to you and you're happy doing it and it's fulfilling you, call it a gift, call it a skill, call it a remembering, call it a past life, call it a future life, call it whatever, call it a soul. These are all just lingo that we have to use. But at the end of the day, is what I've learned is like certain things that in this experience, without me even having the experience, and I already know how to do it, I'm just discovering it. I'm like, whoa, I didn't even dedicate 20 years to this. How do I know it? Right? So it's a deeper, at least that's kind of what I believe. Everybody's got different beliefs because I'm always like studying, obviously my master's in neuroscience. So I'm connecting it. My background is also in that field. So yeah, the fact that you are remembering it and it's attracting you, that means it's sitting inside of you. Who cares about how we call it? Just follow that. And if it's going to pull you, it's going to pull you. You don't need to go to it. That's the beautiful part, right? Because if you like it, you're going to keep going. Nobody's going to stop you. And just follow that. And then once you are good with that, then you start to pick up, once the one thing leads into the next, and then you figure out something else. And that's the process, which is why when I started the journey of personal development, they always say, like, you'll never realize your potential. I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, well, maybe I can realize it. Like, I'm young, I got energy. But this is what they meant. There's so much depth into this stuff. I mean, this is just a physical experience on Earth, right? So it goes beyond. So
thank you, because that's a really good answer for giftedness and following that passion that's within you that you can remember. Thank you for that. What didn't we talk about? Because I know I was selfish and I asked you all my questions that I wanted to know based on your giftedness and being able to explain back to me. But I'm sure there's some things that you want to make sure that our listeners get, that they walk away with, that they understand as a result of talking to Miss Elona.
Yeah, I think it's just continuing this conversation. I also have a show. It's called the Life School Masterclass Show. And to me, I mean, I do the same as you do here. So we're very aligned. So if your listeners are loving these conversations, I also feel like every conversation I have there, I do solo and also with beautiful connections and soul and people that come on my show. Every conversation is its own masterclass, because again, you just never know how that conversation could be a mirror for you and what insight you might get out of that conversation. So that's kind of, what I feel like maybe I can share that might align with your listeners. My podcast called the Life School Masterclass Show. And they'll find that on my website, elonalaparicoaching.com.
One more time on the website.
My name, coaching.com. elonalaparicoaching.com.
I love it. Cool. What are any final thoughts that you have, or things that you would like to make sure that we share with our listeners that have something that's helped you in more of a way? Sometimes we talk about personal development a lot and the amount of time that we should spend on it, and being able to seek that. But if you were to give the folks listening today, I guess, a glimpse into things that might help them really get started in this journey, because I just kind of feel like there's folks that are wondering. They're going, I want my life to be better. I just don't know how to get started. What would be your advice for those folks?
I think it's coming to me in a poetic, because I write poetry. So it's coming, what really I've learned is just focus on the next thing that you feel like following, pretty much. That's where you begin everything. And then don't worry about the mind trying to figure it all out, how you're going to do it, all the uncertainty behind it, because anywhere you're going to explore that's not known to you, follow your curiosity, right? It's going to be unknown. You're going to have uncomfortable feelings. You're going to have doubts. You're going to have days when you're like, I'm just wasting my time. You're going to have days where you're like, where is this leading me? You're going to have days like, I don't have time, right? All the stuff is going to come. And that's just part of the journey. So just follow your curiosity. And something else that I've learned that this was really all about is learning, like me understanding through my life experience that I am worthy and I am enough. That's it. That's really it. Just kind of my own journey has been about just feeling I am good enough. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to act a certain way. I don't need to sound a certain way. I don't need to achieve, become an achiever. I don't need any other roles. That's the ego. So follow your calling, your intuition. Maybe at the beginning it's going to sound like noise. You don't know which one's which. I still don't know which one's which many times. But just start somewhere. And of course, there's beautiful souls around to support and guide you. So wherever you feel called, go with that person to be the facilitator, because obviously they've been through that journey before. They might have learned a few things and they could speed up that journey for you and help you become the mirror. Because we cannot see our blind spots. We're like bats. I call ourselves bats because if you stay in your own, you just don't see your things that are blocking you. That's why you need mirror connections. So that could be a coach, that could be this podcast, that could be whatever you want to call it, therapist. It could be, somebody in business. I mean, it could be anything. You just have to focus your priority as to where are you evolving at this moment, and get clarity on who you're seeking and go find them, or at least they'll find you, right? There's always a process of meeting of the connection wherever you are in your journey. So that's kind of what I've learned, is to work around and problem solve my problems at the root cause, not at the symptom level, which is what I used to do because I didn't know any different. And I'm sure people are feeling that. That's why they repeat. You're like, I'm doing the same thing, like, right? So they show up in other places. So doing deep work requires courage, living boldly, just like the podcast. But don't be afraid. Because, you're never alone. Your soul got you. You're not alone, even if you have no one around you. The biggest lesson is to learn that you are enough on your own without anyone around you, because we're social creatures. We always look for the relationships around us to support us. And that's great. But I've learned that the greatest strength that I've gained is from me learning that even on my own, I am good enough. I am good. And then I can go full towards other people. So that's what I would share as a final message, I guess.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for being on. You are enough. And, if there's one thing that I got out of this podcast, is just realizing that I am. And this journey doesn't have to be mine and mine alone. It can be, there's so many people that would love to be on it with you. The key is that you get started. So many of us, at one point in our lives, are just thinking about if only, and if only doesn't have to be this long-term thing in the future. It can be part of what you do right now. And Elona, it's been so neat to have you and be able to have you tell your story and all the things that you've done to get to this point. And realizing that this isn't something that just happened overnight. You didn't just wake up one day and you were a different person. It's a process. It's something that if you're willing to work through that process, your life can be so fulfilled and so much better. And what the thing I think I love the most is that realizing this is a journey. This isn't a destination. It's not like one day I'm going to get there and I'm going to arrive. It's something that we can always grow within ourselves and continue to do. And so I appreciate you. Please go to her website, learn as much as you can. Go to her podcast. I'm sure there's, doing ones like this one. I would encourage you to, if this is your first one here, to like and subscribe and get notifications, and probably have her on again, but absolutely go visit her. This isn't a competition of who's probably, it's the one that's going to spark something in you that's going to allow you to become the person that you truly desire to be, and that God has put you on this planet to do. So thank you again for those of you who are watching. We can't wait to see you on the next one. Elona, again, thank you for being part of it, and we will look forward to seeing you. I say, don't forget your God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. And you get to become the person that he put you on this earth to do. So pursue that with everything you got. We'll see you guys on the next one.